Hello, everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of our listeners from wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome back to another episode of the AIP podcast. I'm Anne, your host from SuperCharge Lab, and today we're thrilled to welcome Jeff Coyle, co founder of MarketMuse. Now, MarketMuse uses artificial intelligence to accelerate content planning, creation, and optimization. Now, fun fact about Jeff, he has over 20 years in managing products and website networks. Plus, he's a cross discipline expert in content. He's also one of the speakers for the Content Strategy Collective, which is a group of industry defining speakers. And Jeff also owns, get this, an award winning beer brewery, craft beer brewery, that's pretty sizable at the border between Georgia and Florida. Now, the MarketMuse platform identifies content quality issues on your website and builds blueprints that show you exactly how to write content to cover a topic comprehensively. Publishers, content creators, and e commerce managers use MarketMuse to realize 5 times or more in terms of improvements in search performance. So, MarketMuse allows users to publish more and publish fearlessly. Jeff, oh my God, welcome. It's so good to have you on our show
I
today.
think that's
Before we kick off,
I was just going to say I
sorry,
think
go
that's the
ahead.
best intro I've ever received. So that's starting off very good. But before we kick off, sorry.
Before we kick off, let's have you tell us how you got started in this business. What's your backstory? What's your whole story? And how you came to creating
Oh
Market
yeah,
News?
sure. Well, thank you again for that intro. Awesome detail about what MarketMuse does. My background, I went to school in Atlanta at Georgia Tech for computer science, and really focused on usability as well as kind of the early days of search engines and information retrieval. I started with my first startup while I was still in college, a company called Knowledge Storm, and we were one of the first companies who was trying to influence B2B technology companies to have content. As amazing as that sounds, they weren't, leveraging their content to generate leads. They weren't, generating traffic for their website effectively with content. So we were trying to convince companies like IBM and Dell to have content and to get it out there to provide to get the value that it can provide. We were acquired in 2007 by Tech Target, who's a major B2B technology publisher, major intent data provider, thriving public company, amazing collection of professionals, both publishers, but also kind of understanding the buying process for technology. I managed all their sites from an in-house perspective. So all traffic, whether it's paid, organic, social, community, as well as many of the products that powered those websites. The reason why I bring that up as part of the story that connects to MarketMuse is because it was my first real experience working with a very elite content team. So a publishing team, editors in chief, content strategists who really understood their market. They were subject matter experts. And what I realized about, a couple of years in was a couple things. One, tremendously manual processes. What should we create? What should we update? How much content do we create? How much content do we update? It was really either subjective or tremendously manual. And it led to a lot of, inconsistencies and even mistrust between the people who were in charge of leads generated, people who were in charge of, balancing the books on how much money we made, and search engine optimization and traffic and A/B multivariate testing and editorial. And I saw that as a huge opportunity. These teams that write content, they don't perform consistent inventories. They don't perform consistent audits. There's a lot of subjectivity that goes in the mix. And then I met my co-founder. I was actually looking for a solution. Your audience will appreciate it, for auto tagging content into taxonomies. Totally random. And I found the first version of MarketMuse. My co-founder had put out a basic website and just kind of, I pinged him and said, "Hey, Aki, what does this do? Does it do this?" And he's like, "Well, it could do that, but it actually does this." And what it was designed to do is define what it means to be an expert on a topic. So it basically can research any concept and say, if you were an expert on this topic, and you covered it comprehensively, how would you do it? That was about a 30 to 40 hour process for me manually to do a really good report on that. He had knocked it down to 3 hours. Oh, sorry, 3 minutes. I almost said 3 hours. 3 minutes. Um, and I said, whoa, 40 hours to 3 minutes. There's something here. And when I left and I actually ran a proof of concept, it worked really well. Shocking results internally. I still have that plan. A bunch of us at MarketMuse, we have copies of that plan that we keep by us to remember kind of the first content plan with MarketMuse. And when I left TechTarget to go pursue some opportunities in private equity, Aki came back to me and said, "Hey Jeff, a couple months later, I'm going to really take this to market, and you really understand kind of what it means to be an effective user and the market. Will you join me as a co-founder?" And I had this career lining up in private equity and portfolio management. And I also had this opportunity to start something completely new and jump off the bridge. And obviously, I chose the bridge. Now it's 8 months later, and we kind of created the market for content optimization and content intelligence. What it would mean if you really knew and were confident with all of your content investments. So that's the little short story of how a bill became a law with MarketMuse.
Tell me a little bit about MarketMuse.
Mhm.
I'm very curious because I work in marketing
Mhm.
AI, and how does MarketMuse execute its AI enabled end to end strategy?
Sure. So I like to think about it as a page level and then the site level or the site section level, because that's the way that sites and pages are evaluated by search engines as they are today. We were really thinking about this now, 8 years ago, about how we can go from page level to many pages. So what we are able to do is look at a concept agnostic of a site. So we can say, we can go out and look at all the content we can possibly find on the web about a topic. So that can typically mean tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pages that connect semantically to a particular concept. And we build out typically a number of, but a more refined set of topic models. So a topic model that would say, if you were an expert on this and related topics, what are the things you would naturally cover on this page or in a collection of pages or a cluster of content? We then tune that and slice and dice it and put it through a bunch of filters to get you a refined list. We internally sometimes call it the golden model or the golden topic model, but basically it's the expert model. These are things that if you were covering this topic and you didn't mention them, it would mean that you really didn't know what you were talking about. This is a big change from keyword research that would frequently look for substrings or variants only. So if you were covering a topic like content marketing strategy, experts would know that you would need to discuss target markets or buyer personas or something like that. But somebody who wasn't an expert and they were just trying to do like quickie keyword research would miss those concepts. And then they wouldn't be exhibiting true expertise. So what MarketMuse is doing is surfacing at the page level or the topic level what true expertise means. We then take that and apply multiple common workflows that writers and search engine optimization professionals do. So where you're comparing yourself to a competitive page, you can go head to head with another page, or you can go across the entire landscape. So you can compare this topic model or this collection of topic models against all of the top performing pages in organic search. You can also compare it against your draft if you haven't published it yet, or something that you've published. These common workflows would typically take people tens of hours, but we're making it in now seconds, under a minute. We're able to take on all this data and give it to you. The other workflows involve just doing research, ideation, linking, how you should best link these pages together on your site, externally linking them, questions analysis and intent analysis. And we even have a solution for Google News. So at the page level, it's all of those types of workflows about how to make your page better, how to get information that allows you to craft the best page. We have a content brief building technology that allows you to build many topic models and put them together in an outline for a writer. And then really fun, the expert level, the decision maker support is all about content strategy. So what we're able to do is take that type of technology and apply it to an entire site. So it tells you uniquely how strong you are on a topic, how much how difficult would it be for anyone, or how difficult will it be for you, which is a huge difference. It's the biggest gap in content strategy today, is not knowing how much content you need to create, how much power you already have, how likely is it that this article is going to perform. And that's the predictive AI component of MarketMuse. So we can both look at it at the page level as also at the site level to say, hey, if you're going to go cover, you know, podcast microphones, your site's about kitty cats. You've got a lot of work to do, and it's kind of weird. You don't have a lot of competitive advantage. But if you are, blue blue microphones, that's something that's obtainable, and here's the cluster of content that you need to create to tell the story that you're actually the expert on microphones. And so that's the type of solution that we provide. It's both what should I do, what should I update. It also gives you some fun side workflows for, like, where are my thin content items, what pages need to be updated, what are areas that I shouldn't focus on? What are areas that I absolutely need to focus on? Low hanging fruit. It's all the kind of dream outputs of a content inventory automated.
Well, that's very, very
Mm-hmm.
fascinating. And thanks, Jeff, for
Mm-hmm.
that. I think it's really important that people who are working in content actually learn a lot about, how to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
strategize. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that, content is what we call top of the
Mm-hmm.
funnel. I'm sure you've heard this a gazillion
Right.
times, right? How would you advise a team to create high performing content that predicts ROI and helps you to allocate your resources better?
That's a really great question, because it is a huge misconception. There's two reasons for that. And this is where a lot of hair is going to stand on the back of a lot of people's heads, I'm sure. But it is the misperception that up top of funnel comes from the perspective that SEO content is a thing. And it's this arbitrary perspective that if you're going to optimize content, it's going to be lower quality than typical content. It's a stigma that has been built out of that industry, of the search engine optimization industry, which now I've been a part of for 24 years, as frightening as that sounds. So, what is also often misconception is a misclassification of what evergreen means. And so, evergreen is like a state of being. It's there's consistent demand on something. There's a level of temporal interest on something. It doesn't only relate to one type of content, and that's a huge misconception. So where that pieces together is like the misconception that using these types of technologies will give you information to only build this one type of content, like definitions or basic guides. It's criminally wrong, and it's built. It's there's a lot of reasons why that misconception exists. The reality is that the one page, one word world shouldn't have ever existed. But it was a popular concept about 10 years ago that was created by a number of search engine optimization and affiliate targeted, programming of training and those types of things. The reality is, when you cover a topic, you need to cover the entire information and buyer journey. So from pre-funnel information, those are things like basics and what is and those types of things. But then once you're in the journey, that problem aware, what are the problems you're solving? What are the awareness concepts? What are the consideration concepts? What are the purchase or comparison? But then the part of the funnel people forget is post-purchase. So troubleshooting, implementation, advocacy. How do I get the most out of? And then ownership of a product. So champion development. Um, all of those all connect to one word in that old construct. So before, you had a situation where somebody was telling you, "Hey, go write one page for every word." But the reality is, to exhibit expertise on that topic, you have to illustrate that you know that entire journey, and you also know other concepts that would be semantically related. Those are covered really well too. So the basics being like, it wouldn't make any sense that you were going to go write one basic guide to CRM and throw it on your website. It doesn't, even if it's a great guide, right? It doesn't mean you're the expert on CRM. You have to have content that illustrates all the stages. You have to have content that illustrates that you know what it means to use the solution, compare the solution, awareness, and you need topics that are related. So you need call center content. You may need other software content. If you're doing reviews, you may need reviews of other concepts and other software. So basically, what the world has gone away from this one page, one topic. People have deleted those pages. They've removed those videos from 10 years ago. I've been on the soapbox for well longer than that, so I appreciate the way that the world is going towards expertise and authority. But the time is certainly now. If you're still in the situation where you're thinking about strings instead of things or topics.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
amazing. Well, in the interest of time,
Mhm.
I guess we're kind of
Yeah.
winding up. Let's tell our audience, Jeff, how they can get in touch
Oh,
with you.
sure. Jeff at marketmuse.com. I'm active on LinkedIn as well as Twitter, Jeffrey underscore Coyle on Twitter, or obviously on LinkedIn. Anyway, you can get a hold of me. And yeah, shoot me an email if you have any questions about your content strategy or just how MarketMuse works. I love this stuff, as you probably can tell. So it's not uncommon that I will go do an audit of a website or a page just for fun on request. So please take me up on that offer. Also, go check out MarketMuse free. We have a free solution that just focuses on editing and updating individual pages. And if you're a company or you run one to many sites who publishes more than a couple pages or updates more than a couple pages a month or a quarter, you're going to be a fit for the site level automated content inventory and auditing solution. So reach out and I will hook you up.
Sounds good. Well, Jeff, what a thrill it has been to have some time
Mhm.
with you. And thank you for your time. And to all our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, it's Anne from SuperCharge Lab on behalf of the AIP podcast signing off. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.